Well, that's right. Let's shift focus away from what Trump has to say and let's focus on a couple of domestic themes. Metropolis Healthcare, that's a stock on our radar. They've announced their quarterly update. They've also done some inorganic growth. To help us out with details on that front, we're joined by Ameera Shah, the promoter and executive chairman of Metropolis, who joins us. Hi, Ameera. Good morning and thanks a lot for joining in. I was looking at stocks that got hit in the initial couple of minutes of trade and have recovered a good deal. Your stock's top of the list. I think it's recovered close to around 15% from those panic lows. Let's talk about the past quarter, though. You've grown by close to around 10% or thereabouts. I think initially we were expecting a low teens growth, so it's come at a lower end out there. If you could tell us, what was the breakup between volume as well as pricing growth for the past quarter? And how do you see things pan out for FY26?
So if you see, actually, usually H2 is a pretty strong quarter for our industry. Somehow this year has been actually an anomaly, and H2 has been actually weaker than expected. Nobody's really sure why. Is it weather pattern changing, which of course affects health a lot? Is it because of the economic slowdown? I really think it's difficult to gauge exactly what it is. But we've still done well. We've had a double-digit growth in this quarter. That's a sort of a mix between volume as well as the growth which is happening because of the product mix, which results in sort of an increase in average revenue per patient. So still a good, reasonably good show, but a little bit lower than we were hoping for as well. I think we're going into FY25-26 very excited around how the year will shape up for us. We feel quite strongly about the growth that we hope to be able to drive organically for the business. Plus, we have closed 3 acquisitions, the third of which we announced this morning. And all these 3 will also play out into the year, into the entire year of FY25-26. As I had mentioned last time, we're building a string of pearl strategy across North India, as we are leaders in west and south of the country. And north, we've been challengers, maybe in the top 5, but definitely not number 1 or 2. And the idea has been to say, how do we really bridge the gap and get much stronger in the north? So we decided to partner with the leading pathology labs, which are very scientific, ethical in nature, not necessarily only in Delhi, but across the north, along with the Core Diagnostics, which of course is a leading cancer testing platform and majority of business in north. So excited about how this will play out next year.
All right, Ameera, you said that on the domestic front, there could be some challenges, which that's why you could have grown a little bit lower than what you would have expected. At least you're not dealing with President Trump, right? And those tariffs out there, so much of uncertainty. So, thank God for small mercies. Give us a little bit of an insight. You've done a net price increase, I think, of around 2% in Q3. For Q4, was there any price increase that you pushed through? And if you could break up the performance, across segments, how was the wellness segment, specialty, acute? How did they do in the past quarter?
So actually, wellness and our bundling, which is called True Health, actually continued to do well, close to almost 19-20% sort of a growth. What we saw actually falling was the acute segment, which is majority of the business in Metropolis, which is actually illness, which is obviously not on demand. And it's actually when people fall sick and therefore need to come for testing. And that's been true not only in diagnostics, but across the spectrum, we believe, for healthcare. Across pharma, across hospitals, across diagnostics as well. So, when it comes to illness, which is really a need-based testing or hospitalization, a lot of it we see is linked to weather patterns. A lot of it is linked to, seasonalities, outbreaks, etc. So it's not something that we can really have a control or very deep influence over. But of course, the wellness side of it, which we do have an influence over, we did see a fair bit.
By the way, Ameera, good morning. Prashant here. On a lighter note, right? I think there's a real market gap to introduce a stock market package. Given the volatility, I don't know what would be included in a
definitely cardiac
package. Cardiac, and there'll be a BP and maybe
blood glucose.
Your general temperament, if there's a way to measure that, right?
No, absolutely. We have a white list package, which I think would be very important for all stock market participants, considering what's happening right now. And like you said, small mercies, we don't have to deal with tariffs. We actually are in a very strong structural growth environment in our industry and domestically. So we have a little bit more control than most other people in the markets right now.
Absolutely. Okay, Ameera, quick last question. You've done a small acquisition, that Dehradun entity. I think you finished that, it's been announced today with 35 crores, I think, is the value. Last updated numbers, what we have is, I think you had a cash level of about 110 crores. So are you spending 35 crores from that? And as we're looking at this new year, what is the strategy? What kind of growth, top-line growth would you target? How much organic and how much would be inorganic if you're looking at more inorganic ideas?
Yeah, as of now, the 3 acquisitions we've announced will be funded from internal accruals. If maximum, you may need like a 10-20 crore working capital line, but nothing more than that. Most of it will be internal accruals. As I mentioned, I think FY25-26 is an exciting year. The team feels very ready to jump into this year, with the very strong network expansion that we've done this year. A lot of strong programs around product, and feeling quite confident that the organic growth in 25-26 will be really great. And obviously, the goal will be, now that the acquisitions have been announced, to close them and then to integrate them to get the IRR that we need from these investments. So North India will be a big focus for us. So very excited about that.
All right, Ameera, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, and wish you all the best of luck as you continue to execute there. Well.